Hey, so we ended up having to fire Peter. We're live, Dylan. We're live.
Are you serious? You did this to me again.
Because we had some bad news.
Peter's gone. Yeah, you are going to new heights to mess with Peter. This poor man is going to come onto this podcast and be live.
I see him in the background. He's got that nice Lloyd's backdrop, but we're not going to let him in yet. We're going to talk some shit about him for a little while.
Should he be our special guest for the day? We'll just start interviewing him.
Yeah.
I like it. We're here today to talk with Peter from Loro.
All right, let's bring Peter on. Let's bring him on.
He's a great guy. Let's bring him on.
Looks like he wants to chat. Looks like he wants to chat. Hey, Peter.
Oh, look, I'm in the Lloyd's building. I'm very fancy.
Yeah, I don't have to be on time today.
Oh, very late today. I had a little bit of you guys abusing me. What we've been talking about?
Oh, nothing.
Just don't worry. You'll see it on the recording when it comes out.
Listen, if it makes you feel better, I was on a different window and didn't know we were recording either, and so I'm looking into space like a crazy person for the second time in the last 3 recordings, I think.
It's nice having all this control on this side.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to see you both next week. I'm really excited.
It's gonna be great.
Woo!
Yeah, and then Peter, I'll see you at Target Markets as well. 2 weeks of.
That's so good. I'm so glad you're going to be there. It's a fun event.
Yeah, we're not officially there, but we're there.
You're coming to the Lotto event, right?
I am. Yeah, can't wait. It'll be a good time. Hey, what do you guys think of my hat? You like this hat?
Yeah, let's get closer. Let's see the pores also, because I can't even see.
Oh, we've been seeing a lot of this on LinkedIn. All these agents you've got signing up.
Listen, if people send me swag, I will wear it and I'll promote their organization. Turris is a proud member of the 101 Weston Labs, but Pat gave me this hat. And my first response is like, Pat, I don't really like the hat. I'm not gonna lie. It's like a biker hat. I'm not a biker, but I don't know. I'm trying to make it work. We'll see how long it lasts.
Doug bought a bike, and now
I bought a bike.
It's going to be its entire identity in like the next 2-3 weeks.
Form-fitting suit, like
Doug and
red and yellow, blue.
Terrible for
Peter. You're a biker, right? You do a lot of biking, or you were a triathlete, right?
Yeah, I used to. Until I fell off a few times. That then puts you off.
Well, and you had a baby. I feel like that's probably taking a fair bit of time.
Yeah.
How's the new office in Lloyd's?
Very good. Very busy because they've just got their latest cohort of people in, so it's all action in the office. But it'd be interesting to speak to. Yeah, go on.
Well, to say, any good MGAs we should have on?
Yeah, I think there are. There's quite a few who've been through the cohort and become cover holders of Lloyd's. So, well, absolutely. Maybe we could do a show with multiple guests and hear about their different experiences. That'd be a good one.
Yeah. We should chat with Rosie and see if she can gather some up. And next week we're going to do a couple live recordings. That'll be fun.
Yes. I saw you put some times in.
Yes.
Yeah.
We not live streamed, right?
No. Well, Dylan won't allow us to do that.
No, because Doug has a mouth, and so do I, and I don't think we're allowed to be live ever again.
Have you got guests for them? Do we know who they are?
That's a secret. We don't want to tell everybody.
That's clearly a no, but that's fine. It's okay.
No.
I've gotten a lot of no's. They're like, no, we've seen the show. We're not interested. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Peter, I think you have a good guest for us today, right?
We do. I'm very professionally just sending through the instructions right now to join the call.
I like the last minute nature. We're so on Dylan brand.
Very age of the MGA.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite. I want things done 6 months in advance. So
yeah. Well, you should do them then, Dylan.
Yeah. Well,
why the hell weren't you doing Peter's work here?
I'm living.
I'm in charge of our LinkedIn, guys. That's how desperate we are.
Yikes!
We should get a shared LinkedIn resource. But Peter, I don't know if you'd like the one that I would pick.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm probably too scared to ask.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I want to find like a punk, somebody a bit punk.
That'd be
because his hat is very punk.
Hold on.
Really, I want
to see the side view of the hat. Come on. Okay. Oh yeah. No. Actually, I like that kind of hat. That's great. You
Dylan,
prefer like a big trucker hat? Is that what you're looking for, Doug?
Actually, if an MGA out of Texas or anybody out of Texas wants to send me a cowboy hat, I would like to see what I look like in a cowboy hat.
That'd be awesome. One of your Texas agents could do that.
Oh, you know what?
There like underwriting
maybe,
group out of like North Texas or something, Doug? That I can't
remember. We had Jonathan from Thor on. He's from Texas.
That's true.
I'm gonna see if he can get me a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
with Thor, like Thor on it.
Yeah, I like that.
We'll do that.
I would like one too, just to be clear.
2 cowboy hats.
2
Peter
cowboy hats. Maybe
cowboy hat at Lloyd's.
If I get one, I'm wearing it on the podcast for sure.
Would you wear it around the building at Lloyd's?
Maybe.
Wow. I guess just 2 cowboy hats then. I don't know if Jonathan's going to go for sending 3.
So guys, I was just thinking maybe we should. I decided to wear the vintage plug and play InsurTech shirt today from like 2018, and I'm wearing it on the show solely to bother Paul Gagliotti because he gave me crap for wearing it one day recently when I saw him in person. And so I decided to put it on the show because I know he's an avid listener here. Big fan of the talent here. And
he likes to send in a lot of hate mail. I think all the negative reviews, the anonymous negative reviews we get are him. Just like messing with us.
All fair.
Yeah. So anyway, but maybe we should have them on the show too. That's an interesting thing. I'd love to get like the different labs out, all the little accelerators out. I think that'd be interesting. See
I thought you were going to say have Paul on the show because I'm pretty sure he said no thanks. He's like, I'm not interested.
Also. What's the t-shirt? Dylan, plug and play or pineapple?
Yeah.
There's a there was a pineapple in
Pineapple InsurTech. That's a good name for an InsurTech.
There was one. I don't know what happened to them. I think they were South African, actually.
Interesting.
We'll have to look them up. We should do like an in memoriam of InsurTechs.
Just have a scrolling line of wonderfully named MGAs that have failed over the years. The ones that are specifically unstable,
Well, we'll put stable at the top of the list.
Okay.
Doug, you've got your fingers on the pulse because pineapple is, you're correct, the South African InsurTech.
I have a long memory.
It's good fruit InsurTech knowledge. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. They went upside down.
Yeah. Upside down pineapple cake. Yeah, it's also good. Yeah. Now I'm hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet. Guys, how's the week? I think we're just killing time here till the guests come on. Should we hop right into them, or Dylan, do you really want to give them?
Do your thing. Just absolutely ruin their day by just bringing them right on. That's fine.
I watched I don't normally watch the episodes, but I watched Bobby from Rainbow, just the intro, and his face where we were messing around, or I was messing around with him. I think he was just like, I thought he's gonna leave. He's such a good sport.
Guys, do we know what actually happened with that competition?
Yeah.
But my understanding is Peter lost.
What?
I didn't want to tell you.
Has Rob confirmed this?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work.
I didn't know if he said I won, and when he says won, I don't know if that means I said the most or the least. So we have to clarify that, guys.
I think just send the money in.
Send the check to you is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Charity.
How's your guys' week going? Amit, another great guest of ours. I've been trying to take a page out of his book and actually say when shitty things are happening when people ask me. So tell me all the blood and gore from this week.
Wow. Well, just prepping for the week to come, all while my father unfortunately was in the hospital for the last 4 days.
Ooh.
So,
Sorry, man.
Yeah, there we go. There's the blood and gore.
You really leaned into that.
You said give it to you. I gave it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Peter, anything to top that?
No. The most exciting thing that happened to us was the dog's now addicted to the baby's toy because when the baby's sick on it, they love that. So that's what our house is about.
I thought you were going to say our dog.
Toys.
I thought you were going to say that the dog became addicted to Adderall because I just saw a video of this pit bull that had gotten into someone's Adderall stash and it looked like fully cracked out, as you would expect.
Yeah.
Poor doggy.
Isn't the US over in the UK, Dylan?
Yeah, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Drug-induced people running around.
Evidently, we drug our dogs in America. I don't know that. No, they had American accents. Definitely. Never mind. It was America.
Hey, by the way, I see Peter. Do you want to do a quick intro for Charlie, and then we'll get him on? We're gonna do one of these. We're gonna just bring him on. Like no, no prep. He's shaking his head. He's like, I can't wait.
He's ready
coming in hot.
Yeah. So yeah, I met Charlie a long time ago when I was working at Marshall. He was at Hiscox, and Charlie's got a really interesting background. So it's a different set of product lines to what we've seen on the show before, all to do with the kind of crisis management space, so kidnap and ransom, active shooter, those kind of things. Very interesting. We want to really get into Charlie's family as well, because I think that's really interesting, his background. They've got some links to Venezuela in there. And it's going to be a very interesting episode for Charlie to disclose what's happening with his current MGA, Samphire, because they've just been in the news recently. So we're going to get into that as well.
Ooh, that was a really good intro, Peter.
That was the best. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I don't even know the answers to all the stuff that you're teasing here, so I'm really excited. Let's bring him on.
Yeah, let's bring him on. Hey, Charlie.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Charlie. How do you rate Peter's intro for you? Was that good?
I tell you what, world class. Wasted in the insurance industry.
I know. I think he's been getting offers from other non-insurance podcasts, like ones that people actually listen to come and
also as a cricket announcer, I heard, right?
Ooh,
that'd be the dream. Yeah.
Well, hey, Charlie, great to meet you. Very excited, especially after that build up that Peter gave.
Hope I don't disappoint.
No, listen, we will the three of us will disappoint. That's our job. Yours is to look really good.
Yeah, if you actually watch the show, you would know that you shouldn't come onto it. So we appreciate you being here.
No, thank you for having me. Nice to see you, Peter. Great to meet you, Doug and Dylan.
Charlie, I assume you're in the UK?
Yes, I'm in London. I hope it's not too echoey. I appreciate I'm the only one without headphones. Hopefully you can hear me.
The other thing with the show is like we all have really shitty audio, so you'll look really good against us. We really do it to prop our guests up. The terrible production quality of the show is part of the value. So in London, you're working at a Lloyd's building, because I see Peter's in Lloyd's today.
Yeah, as the crow flies, I'm probably about 50 meters away from Peter.
Oh, nice. You guys should be doing it together.
I know. No kidding.
Sadly, his surroundings a little more auspicious than mine. I'm in we have quite an old office in Leadenhall Market, so it's a great location. It's very historic, but it's quite old-fashioned.
Great pints at the Moon after work, I'm sure, right?
Oh yes, yeah. Well, if we're not there, we can certainly hear it.
Yeah. Well, so Peter, let's dig in.
Well, yeah, I think the best place to start, Charlie, is a little bit. We talked about you and maybe something a bit different. The links to Venezuela as well would be interesting, but your background in this world of insurance that you and I know quite well, but a lot of the audience probably doesn't know or has heard little bits about. So we'd love to start there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the Venezuela links. I mean, over the years working with US colleagues, they've invariably described me as the most British thing they've ever come across. So I was born in Venezuela, but I sadly I can't really claim to have the blood of that fine country. So both my parents are British, but born over there, and I do have family there through the English side of my family. And it's a country I've got to know really well over the years, and spent some time both obviously as an infant and as an adult there. And actually, it was my connectivity to Venezuela which got me into the insurance industry. I mean, I'm sure Pete and everyone, it's a similar story. People fall into this industry rather than are drawn into it necessarily. But I knew when I graduated from university, I wanted to have a career that initially certainly that took me into contact with Latin America, and to utilize my Spanish language skills, and also it's just a continent I just loved, and so that was kind of principal aim number one. Principal aim number two was, well, what industry? And after a brief a couple of years, I suppose, of doing bits and pieces here and there, some of it tangential to the insurance industry, I got offered a job as a Latin American K&R broker. And obviously that's a world you know well, Peter, and how we obviously met. And so my first job really was broking high net worth families across the Latin American continent to arrange kidnap for ransom insurance for them, which is kind of the birthplace of the product, that continent, for pretty obvious reasons. And so I had an amazing introduction to the insurance market in terms of a niche line of specialty insurance, but also that opportunity to connect with that continent and to connect with the business culture. And that's really how I fell in love with insurance, if that's the right way of putting it.
It is. We love insurance here, so that's okay.
I just said that. It was an awkward pause.
No. It's don't be ashamed of loving insurance. We're here to love insurance. All right. That doesn't mean that we can't talk a little smack about it. We can't, certainly. I guess one of the important things is that we definitely like to criticize the things that need to be criticized. So on this show, you can swear, you can say whatever you want, you can call out bad behaviors of people, you can call out your enemy, and also talk about all of your secrets. And Peter alluded to one in his intro also of some big news and
yeah, that's to come. That's to come. I think that's.
You
can't say that to the end. You've got it. You can't tease me anymore. I want to know what this big news is.
One point before that comes up, Charlie, which I think Dylan will be also interested in. Am I making this up, or do you have some kind of family link to Venezuelan rum as well?
Yeah. So my cousins, my family cousins down there, yeah, they make rum in Venezuela. So
fantastic.
Another added perk of going to that fine country. Sadly, obviously, it's been through pretty turbulent times the last 2 decades or so, but it's got every ingredient to be a wonderful place again, hopefully sometime soon.
It sounds like we need to do a InsurTech trip down to
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. We'll get like a rum tour, and we have like people that know the space. We get a lot of trips
as well, Doug.
Yeah, we can get some insurance through you guys. That'd be good. Listen, nobody wants to kidnap me. It's fine. So I'm great to hang around.
What Doug's saying is he is worthless. No one wants him.
Yeah, very worthless. Yeah. They'd pick me up and they'd be like,
throw him back.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So actually, I do want to get into the the specific insurance, whether it's like kidnap, ransom, or just kind of like the other interesting ones. Because I know, Peter, you used to work in that. We've had some fun discussions. But yeah, Charlie, treat me as a 5th grader in this, and curious, like, how does it work? How do people, how do people get it? How are you working in that space and differentiating? I imagine, given the way kind of some of the geopolitical events are going on, it's probably becoming more necessary. I do have a specific question around Bitcoin and some of the kidnappings that have taken place there that I'd be curious to get your thoughts on. So yeah, wherever you want to start there, but I feel like there's a lot we could dig into.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think for me, the most interesting thing about that line of insurance, kidnap insurance, is that it's it's genuinely an insurance which has over the years saved lives. It's put into the hands of policyholders incredible tools to manage what I guess all 4 of us would agree must be an unimaginably complicated problem to face when it happens. So it's obviously all insurance is to one degree or another performing really good social good often and helping prop up people, organizations in their worst moments. But I think, it's hard to think of perhaps a more acutely distressful or distressing rather, or confusing situation than a loved one being kidnapped, or your business being extorted by criminals, or, somebody being detained overseas, or a hostage situation, whatever it may be. And the experts that out there that have the ability to help people at that moment of need are, is really, from my career perspective, has been the most interesting thing about it. At the end of the day, we're insurers. We assess risk and price it and try to put a fair product into the market that helps people. But the fact that our product delivers the services of crisis responders to help people through these terribly complicated moments is the most gratifying and also the most interesting thing about it. And actually, when I and my partner started Samphire in 2021. We wanted to take that concept of insurance delivering high expertise, delivering incredible resource, incredible powerful capability to the policyholder when they need it most, but across a whole array of crises. So not just kidnapping, but as Pete alluded to, things like active shooter scenarios, emergency evacuations from overseas, whether that be medically or perhaps security environment dictated, reputational crises, and things of that ilk. So that's the business we've built all has come from that seed that insurance can provide this incredibly powerful tool of expertise and resource at the moment of need to really complicated problems. And then, of course, secondary to all of that, and not always secondary, because some policyholders do view the financial protection as obviously extremely important over and above the access to expertise they get. But most of the time, that's kind of secondary to the products we're selling. What we're really selling is our policyholders get access to a great big red lever that if the most complicated problem hits them, they pull that lever. And we act as the connective tissue between that problem and real experts, wherever they may be in the world or wherever the problems occurred in the world, real experts to come and help them in their moments of need.
So I have two routes we can go down. The claims aspect of this, which I know, Dylan, you'd be excited to talk about, and just like walking through what those scenarios look like. But I also, maybe we can take a step back, because you mentioned founding this company in 2021. Curious what you were working on before. And the reason I asked that is what we try to do on the show is like get people that are maybe in a successful role within the insurance space and very secure, but they have some ideas and they're like, what does it take for me to actually take that leap and go out on my own and build my own thing versus like, the golden handcuffs of working at AIG or within Lloyd's, forever and being very comfortable, but maybe wondering at the end of their career, like what would have happened if I had done this? So curious about like what pushed you to do that, how you kind of came up with it, what you were working in before, anything you want to share there?
Yes, I spent 14 years with Hiscox prior to setting up the business, and a brilliant company to work for, a brilliant company in terms of what it did over the years in specialty lines of insurance. And I had an amazing time in my career there. Was exposed to all sorts of interesting clients and territories and problems and claims, et cetera, et cetera. But to your point, Doug, I suppose there's all this kind of itch that needed scratching, for want of a better metaphor. And that itch was, could I go out and ultimately with the partners I built the business with, could I do something off my own back? That was the kind of emotional itch that was there. But that's not enough. Obviously you need some commercial rationale to satisfy that itch. But it had been there, and whilst I had a fantastic time in my previous company and didn't want to leave because I wanted to leave, I wanted to leave because I wanted to try and prove that I could do something on my own, but also because I really believed there was a market opportunity. I believed that these crisis response products I talked about could be innovated, they could be integrated, they could be amalgamated to give clients sort of a broader choice, broader protection, more simplicity. So, rather than having to buy 4 different policies with 4 different providers, we'll give you one policy which covers all these complicated problems and a single provider. So there was commercial rationale behind it. I really believed in the market opportunity. I believe, and even more strongly now, 4 years in, that in niche specialties, bringing focus, dedication, and that singularity of what you're doing day to day is really appreciated by the market, because not all brokers have the time nor inclination to get under the bonnet of these niche risks. And most of the brokers we deal with are kind of typically in the middle market. And I think what we can bring to them is that kind of dedication, and through that we build trust, not only in ourselves as a team, but also our products. And that has kind of been the commercial opportunity that we believed was there to be exploited. The fact that it allowed, everyone that I have in my business has worked in really big institutions, whether that be government roles, large insurance corporations. They all shared that kind of vision to to want to come together and try and create something. And they also believed, as I do, in the commercial opportunity we identified.
Cool. I appreciate that. And now for Dylan's stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really, most claims are very boring to me, just mostly because Dylan drones on about them. But this is very interesting. I'm sure there's stories you probably can't share, but maybe just like, so claim obviously happens, right? Somebody's kidnapped or ransomed or a business is hacked and there's a demand made. What does that look like? Obviously, I think maybe at some point authorities are getting involved, or maybe it's more secret than that. Thinking of that like Mel Gibson kidnap movie from like the 90s, right, where they can't call the FBI, all dramatized, I'm sure. But yeah, how do these things like start? Where do you get involved? This expert network you kind of talked about, everybody having access to. What does that look like? To the extent that you can share any of that, I think this is really interesting stuff.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's an interesting point you raise. What a lot of what we're ensuring are going to be issues that are right up the top of lists of law enforcement to care about or want to get involved in. Sometimes even governments. But actually, the opposite is also true. In certain places where, for instance, kidnapping is kind of, almost like slips and trips. It's a kind of everyday consideration. Often it isn't law enforcement that are going to be there at your moment of need. And in fact, in certain countries around the world where perhaps law enforcement is not as robust as in other places, people don't necessarily have the trust in their local authorities to support them in their moment of need. So I think there's a kind of spectrum as to where these, the applicability of our products come in. But often, and I'll give you a very specific example, a problem just kind of falls through the cracks. So I remember a few years ago, there was a very interesting period of and Peter was involved in the market then, of our careers, where from about 2008-9 onwards, for a period of 5-6 years, ships were being hijacked off the coast of Somalia with pretty much impunity. And it became more or less every day of the calendar year that some ship was either attacked or hijacked. And this became a major problem for the shipping industry. And I myself was involved in numerous insured hijacks. But I do remember once meeting the owner of one of these vessels. His ship was taken and it was held for about 2 months and was eventually released. He got the news when he was on a business trip in New York, and he was a Greek ship owner. And I remember him saying so clearly when he got this message come through from his head office, they'd received a fax from the ship, which was a scrawled note from these pirates saying, "We've got your ship, and this is how much money we want to release it. We're waiting for your response." And he said, at that moment, it kind of crystallized to him, like, what the hell is my response going to be? I'm in New York. Do I phone the NYPD? Do I phone the Greek ship Navy, the Greek authorities? There is no Somali Coast Guard or anything like that. So who at that moment of need is going to bring structure and help to what is an incredibly complicated moment? He's got 20 plus crew on board his ship. He's got a very valuable cargo. He's got a very valuable ship. And so he was able to enact support of the policy. And what that allowed him to do was start a kind of a process that ultimately ended in the safe release and everyone's going home safely. And it brought structure at that moment of need, where that's a very specific case and replicated across many different scenarios where law enforcement or governments, whose responsibility is it? It's happened on the high seas. You're not going to get the support you might expect as a citizen of your country. And that's where the private sector and insurance in this case can play that really valuable role.
Yeah, that's an incredible, really interesting example. I mean, everyone who's old enough in the industry to have seen this, I remember seeing it on the news all the time. And then there was certainly a variety of different things that happened. There were, I'm sure, from the insurance side that we'll talk about, a changing, there's certainly that was a heck of a large market all of a sudden. We need to continue. That's what insurance really has been for historically, is really all the way to ships, of course, being the primary thing insured. But making sure that world commerce continues on benefits everyone, and the social good that insurance is doing is fantastic. But then there was also the arming of ships, right? Because as soon as insurance gets involved, they go, "What are you doing to mitigate the damages or prevent the loss?" Okay, and so can you talk to me a little bit about that side of it as well? Because there were the anti-piracy mitigation systems, whether they be fire hoses or which were manned, or ones that were remote operated, or ones that were broadcasting across the edge. They're not actually a hose. It's a pipe network that's essentially like putting out a fire, but for piracy purposes. The safe rooms that were put on board. There's a lot put in place to help protect those ships. And before really the American and the UK navies got involved, because that was the next step in that, right? Is that they just cleaned up on that whole area. But it's hard to monitor every single ship. There's thousands of ships, and there's a limited number of naval ships. So that's always tricky. But love to hear about that side of it and the prevention and mitigation efforts.
Sorry, Carol.
No, I was just going to say, while you go into that, Charlie, one interesting story, Dylan, for you as well, on the back of Charlie. So yes, this was an amazing time in the insurance world, and Charlie saw far more of it than me. But I remember having my own experience, to your point, Dylan, of sitting down with a Turkish ship owner, and he showed me the footage from the vessel of it being hijacked. And it's amazing how easy it was to happen. So they were going at a decent speed. I mean, they were going like 16, 17 knots or something. And this small, tiny dot on the distance going over the wave just gets closer and closer and closer as a speedboat comes up, the ladder's on, few shots fired, and before you know it, they're on board and have that. So there's lots of these mitigation steps that people can take, but seeing that firsthand shows you kind of, wow, they're incredibly professional in their ability to get on board these vessels.
And Peter is not many people on the show know this side of me, so this will be an interesting reveal. But from a person with experience with rifles and firearms, I also look at how easy that was to prevent, right?
Sure, with armed guards is the biggest thing, right, Charlie? Yeah, it's good the industry had, right? But it's not cheap, right? It's not a cheap thing to have on board a vessel. That's the
sure, absolutely. Someone who's willing to risk their life for that. At the same time, even a half-trained, a person who's working the vessel. Normally, it's not their full time to be a guard, but doesn't want to be stuck on a ship for 3-4 months, hijacked in a safe room, or they've been pulled out of the safe room, right? And they're now in the hands of someone who's hijacking their boat. No one wants to be really the victim of piracy, right? Yeah. So, with very simple, very little training, they can protect themselves from that as well. So it was kind of frustrating from a person's perspective, like myself, where I'd say that this is actually very preventable. I know it's very impressive how willing the pirates are to put themselves in danger to, throw the ladder on this, throw a throw line on there, pull up a ladder and board a moving vessel at sea. That's terrifying. I mean, I wouldn't do that, but from the other perspective, it's shocking how easily it could be prevented, because from 200 yards, they can't reach the ship and put a ladder on it, and you can protect yourself. So it was very frustrating for people like me to watch that, and knowing that there's a pretty simple fix.
And Charlie, we'll let you speak in a minute, because the three of us really got something hot going right now. Dylan, I didn't know you like guns.
Get out of here. Doug knows better.
So Charlie, interested in the prevention stuff, but then also, I imagine that opens up other liabilities then, right? Having these guards on now, and whether they're trained or not. So yeah,
when you talk about this, they're pirates. We just to be clear, we've historically hung them publicly. That's not something that has ever really been protected by the courts.
I'm not saying the pirates. I'm saying the guards. that
Yeah,
the half
understood.
trained guards, that maybe opens up other liabilities, having more firearms on the vessel.
We're going to let Charlie come in on this, and then he's going to talk to
Someday.
you about active assailant, Dylan, and then you can really get into your debate about
Exciting. Exciting.
Wow. We're like, Dylan, we have one listener. Why are you trying to get rid of that last one?
Charlie, please. So sorry. Let's talk about the risk mitigation.
I mean, Dylan, you raised very interesting points, and obviously they were all good considerations at the time. But I suppose when you try and solve one problem, you potentially create another. And whilst on the high seas, the law is somewhat different. But once you're in people's territorial waters, sometimes we're going into port, carrying weapons on board vessels that, in many places was not permitted. And used to hear rumours of people having to throw the weapons in the water before they got to port. So things like that had to be navigated through, various legal channels before it was permissible to carry weapons on board. And then, to your point, Doug, the likelihood of being hijacked was quite small, but is the likelihood of something going wrong with 6 guys with guns on board your vessel a bit higher? So, as usual, you think you solve one problem, potentially create another. And actually, we do see that, to your point, Pete, in terms of active assailant. We've seen very recently tragic attacks on churches and of course school shootings, and I'm talking really specifically to the US at the moment. School shootings are well known about in the general public, and in certain states, it's now permissible for there to be armed security on school campuses, and some churches have armed security now in place. And again, the liabilities of not protecting your faculty and students or your congregation versus the liabilities of something happening to them because you've got people with weapons on premises. It's sort of two sides of a coin of a problem. So I think the insurance industry is always, whether it be like sprinklers inside buildings with fire risk or burglar alarms for theft risk, our insurances are no different. We try to help clients elevate their mitigation measures, and sometimes we do that through direct investment by bursaries on the premium, and sometimes we do it through services we offer. So just as a brief example, in the United States, where we sell active assailant insurance, which is quite a big growth market. I suppose that's not a good thing, but it is a reality. All of our policyholders have access to the ability to phone our partners on the crisis response side, a company called Merrill Herzog, and they have trained behavioral threat analysts there, because often, in fact, almost without exception, some of these terrible shootings, there's always warning signs, there's precursors, there's somebody's behavior has changed, somebody's displaying, some form of concerning pattern of behavior, and often they're missed because somebody hasn't had that properly assessed or got it in front of somebody that can advise them on how to take that to law enforcement. So we give all of our policyholders that benefit because, one, obviously we don't want the worst to happen, and two, if they're better prepared, ultimately from our portfolio perspective, it runs better in the long term. So just like any other form of insurance, we try to invest in mitigation. We try to help our policyholders invest in mitigation, even though what we're insuring is at the severe end rather than the frequent end of issues.
What, like the active assailant insurance, who's buying that? How does it, what is the actual claim there? I mean, it's like the risk mitigation part is really interesting, but even like letting the staff know that this is available to them. Like what does a policy purchase look like? Who's buying it? And then, are you're in that organization then saying, hey, we have this, here's some resources that you have, some training maybe that takes place to help keep people's eyes open and identify problems. And then on the claim side, like what's the harm? I mean, I know what the harm is, but where are you guys getting involved from a claims perspective?
Again, the mitigation often follows government policy. So in the US, the kind of federal see something, say something policy. Over here, we have see it, say it, sorted. Sorry, Pete, that's probably going to make your head explode because we hear that so many times every day on the train. Aligning mitigation measures with government policy is useful. But in terms of the claims, I mean, again, to my point around things like kidnap insurance, we provide access to crisis responders, and that's not to replace law enforcement. So going back to my earlier points around, whether law enforcement are involved or not involved in these types of cases, or whether they can be. Obviously, whether it's here in the UK where we have a problem with knife attacks or vehicle attacks, and on mainland continental Europe the same, or in the United States where it's more associated with firearms, quite clearly the first response to that type of situation is law enforcement, and the services provided by an insurance policy are not there to replace it. But to oversimplify, law enforcement's role is normally to apprehend, capture, or neutralize the threat, and then to evidence collect for illegal prosecution thereon. It's not necessarily acting to protect the organization or the individual's reputation. It's not necessarily there to protect them in terms of their own liabilities that may arise. It's not necessarily there to protect them in terms of how they engage with wider stakeholders, family liaison, victim support, et cetera, et cetera. There's a whole host of problems that organizations face when something like an attack happens on their premises that law enforcement are not going to support them with, or indeed any kind of state function. So that again is where the private sector, for want of a better expression, can bring to bear real support and guidance, and that's what our policy pays for.
Yeah, that's great. And Charlie, so talk to us. So that the moment comes where you've been these 14 years at Hiscox, and you're modest, but you're running a big team there. You had the influence to be very successful in that role. To then make the decision to go into Samphire, we speak to a lot of MGA founders who are setting up kind of a product they know, so that there's some similarities there. But obviously, you have a lot of other pieces that are going into this. You have to not only form the MGA, but you have to build out your connections to this crisis response service that you're giving, and all the kind of additional points to the product offering. What did that look like from a practical perspective, and how did you get started with Samphire?
I suppose we got started with what we knew, which was the kidnap for ransom product. More or less 20 years involved in that. You network around the industry, and so I knew that there were potential partners out there that we could align with. And then things just kind of snowball. And once you come to market in a niche area as a new player, and you try to set your stall out a little bit differently, people are curious and they come to you and they go, well, we're looking for new partnerships. I mentioned one of the partners we work with, Merrill Herzog, a relatively new crisis response business in the US, seasoned professional experts that have come out of larger organizations and come together to create a more nimble early stage business in their space, kind of like we were positioning ourselves from an insurance perspective. And you kind of get that meeting of minds. You have to operate differently as a smaller business. You have to be a bit more nimble and creative in your thinking, and fast moving, and occasionally take a little bit of a gamble on a new relationship. We're in a sensitive area of the market, so we are intrinsically cautious, but at the same time, we can't build a business by slicing and dicing every decision to the nth degree. So so we were proactive about going out and trying to find new partners to work with, and that's so far, touch wood, worked really well.
So one of the other quick questions about from the claim side, because this is very unique. Are the claims being handled internally by your team, or is this through a TPA? What does that look like? Or is it through the carrier, for the fronted carrier? Who's handling these? This is a very, very unique specialty, and beyond having just that specialty, it's a really interesting active claim. It's a little bit more like cyber in a way as well, where something is ongoing and you're trying to resolve the outcome. Kidnap in particular, just from speaking with other folks who have been in the space, if you have a person who is in Juarez, Mexico, and you need to get them back over the border, they have been kidnapped. Generally, my understanding is there's a hiring of an individual who's non-government entity, right? And that individual is having conversations with their network and essentially helping get that person out of custody from whoever's holding them ransom, who's kidnapped them, and gets them some type of bribe, usually, or ransom, however you want to call it, and then extracts them and pulls them, back over to the States if they were a U.S. citizen, for example, over the border. And that is not something a normal claims person has any involvement with doing. So if what I just described is relatively accurate, how does that go about, and what does that claim process look like?
So, I mean, there's probably two channels, really. I mean, there's the immediacy of the problem, where we provide access to these crisis responders I talked about. And, their priority is to get out the door without delay and start supporting the policyholder towards a safe resolution of whatever the problem is. And then you've got the secondary side of things, which is, the policy is picking up various costs associated with these incidents. So, to use the active-assailant example again, there may be a business interruption due to the incidents happening on your premises. You may have physical damage. If a suit comes down the line afterwards, the policy's there to cater for that financial loss. You may have other miscellaneous costs involved as well. So
can I back you up real quick? So you're saying describing individuals' titles and what they're doing, but none of those things I've heard is a claims adjuster. Okay, and the second person that you just described sounded more like a claims adjuster, someone who's responding to lawsuits and dealing with the liability associated with it. But the first person you described does not sound like an adjuster. So is that a third party entity? Is that with a company is that a person that's being hired by the adjuster and a TPA, or who's handling your claims?
So we typically don't involve TPAs or adjusters. The crisis responder is nominated on the policy. The fees and expenses for them to deploy to the incident will be covered by the policy. And the moment that they are deployed, they are acting effectively as the agent of the policyholder. They're not an adjuster representing the interests of the insurer. They're there purely they're being paid for by the insurer, but they're there purely to act on the instructions of the policyholder and to provide their advice and guidance. So that's the one channel. The other side of things, depending on the nature of the incident, we may involve an adjuster, we may involve forensic accountant, we may involve specialist counsel to defend the position of the policyholder and or the insurer. And then we work with a panel of capacity providers in the marketplace, and we work hand in glove with their claims departments around these matters. But we don't, because they tend to be very sensitive. And as I said, this is a severity issue, not a frequency issue, not dealing with thousands of claims a month. We tend to keep, it's a pretty hold close in terms of information flow. That
So, in the States, of course, you need a licensed adjuster to essentially adjudicate the claim. So, that party for you is going to be then with the carrier?
Yes. So if an adjuster needs to be appointed because there is there's a formal claim to be made, then that's something we will engage with the carrier around.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, this is just totally different than essentially every other line of business out there, as far as I'm concerned.
Charlie, have you read this book, or do you know of the guy Chris Voss, the hostage negotiator?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that
what's it called? I'll get to yes or something.
I don't remember the name of the book, but
he doesn't actually read. To be
I don't read. I pretend. I have books on a shelf behind me with a lot of dust. Not even behind me right now. I don't even know where they are. Somebody moved them. I'm curious. I bring that up because there's obviously a lot, and I'm sorry. There's like a construction site next to me right now. I don't know what the hell's going on outside. There's a lot of media that's created, right? Entertainment media, and I don't know, if that book veers into it. I think a lot of people in the business world are interested in that because they see business as war, right? And they're like, how are we going to negotiate this thing? So we made a lot of money off that. But I think about like those kidnapping movies. There's Captain Phillips, right? So entertainment media is created, and somewhat in truth, I'm sure, but I'm like curious, like you live this world, right? You see these things happening, and then you see that media produced. Can can you not watch it? Can you still be entertained by it? Or is it something where you're like, it's so far from reality that, I don't even give it credence?
No, I think it reinforces the truth of the matter, which is, as I described to the team and I, we're the paper shufflers. Thank God. Can you imagine? I feel very sorry for a policyholder if I turned up to help them in a moment of need. And if you remember, there was a film called Proof of Life, which I'm Beatles, It actually was a great movie. It was the early 2000s, and it was based on, it was a pretty accurate account as to how a K&R claim would pan out. And I know at that time, people in the industry advised the producers of the movie as to, what it was. But you'll notice every time it cuts to the insurers involved, to these heartless bastards who refused to pay the claim. The camera, sort of pans to the outside of Lloyd's of London. There's a sort of grey filter on the camera, so it makes everyone look like they're grey-faced sort of capitalist monsters. Meanwhile, Russell Crowe, who plays the K&R crisis responder, is this guy, terribly empathetic, great guy. So, we know our place in the insurance industry. That's how the movies view us.
So Charlie, we are adding the gray scale, like the filter to post-production. So right now you look pretty, like you got a little color, like you may have been to Venezuela recently, and no, it's not going to look like that when it goes live. So sorry.
Charlie, I do want to start seeing you like airlifted into active situations now, though, with kind of like Sapphire across your bulletproof vest, and you're rappelling down. You're like, don't worry, you don't have to land this thing. I can rappel the last 20 feet.
Yeah, I can feel the John Wick in him. It's there. Yeah. We need to just let it out.
Yeah,
I think everybody involved in that would be intensely disappointed.
Well, you haven't, again, like, do it next to me. I went to a paint gun thing a couple years ago.
Paintball shooting.
I don't know, like, in a warehouse or whatever. And I was just like, nobody needs me fighting for anything.
Oh, Doug,
this is like Dylan. I say when shit goes,
please go paintballing with me. Please be on the other team.
You'll wreck me. This is like Dylan always makes fun of me for not having any guns. I was like, I know my place. I will go to, if things go bad in the US, I'm just going to go down to Dylan's compound in Virginia, and they'll protect me.
Charlie, I don't have a compound. I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, of course you don't have one. You don't want people to know about it. I know the location. Charlie, you're invited. I'll get you in. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
He's going to be helicoptering you out of here. What are you talking about? He's the guy that's going to save you, not me.
Yeah.
So we alluded to some news for the Samphire team. So the Samphire was 2021, Charlie, when it started, right?
Yeah, we actually started trading in January 2022. Took us about 4 months to come to market. Coming off the back of COVID. I don't know.
Still fast to market compared to a lot of people we speak to, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 4 months is incredible. So well done.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we had we weren't looking at the most complex plan from the get-go, but I suppose that's a lesson you learn when you leave a big business. If you're sitting there not transacting, you can just feel the pain of burning cash day after day. So getting trading was a great moment, but even then, it takes time to get the wheels rolling.
Yes. So how was the venture back, Charlie, when you first started? How did you get it off the ground?
So, and this alludes to, I suppose, the recent news that you alluded to, Pete, which is, so we, until the 1st of October, we were a wholly owned subsidiary business of a company called Blackthorn, which had actually recently rebranded from CHC Global. And they were, they are under their new brand, they're now Blackthorn. They are a risk advisory business and a Lloyd's of London broker. And they incubated us. We're entirely separate legal entity, separately branded, separate trading, separate locations, etc. But particularly from a risk advisory perspective, they operate in the same field as us. So it allowed us to leverage off their expertise and data and market intelligence to help inform our underwriting. And we have that ongoing relationship. But as of the 1st of October, we were divested, and I led a buyout with the team to be majority acquired by a business called Kintara Capital. So it was just a kind of right moment for both organizations to go in their independent directions, grown to, such a size, it kind of made sense. But the exciting thing for us as an MGA is Kintara Capital is the new investment vehicle of David Walsh and Graham Newman. David Walsh being the founder of CFC Underwriting, and Graham, one of the big drivers of innovation and product development within that business over the last 2 decades. And irrespective of whether you're in an MGA or not, these 2 guys are kind of market legends certainly in the London market and beyond. They built an incredible MGA that by the time they left the business, was in all corners of the earth and built from nothing to over 1,000 employees, I think it was, always. So the opportunity to access their capital, which is fantastic because that allows us to invest in our growth plans and invest in all the other ideas that we've got bubbling along, but just needed the time and capital to consider them. But perhaps more than anything, these guys have built, in my view, the stellar MGA in the London market in the last 2 decades, and they are now on board as partners, and we've got access to all of that brain power and knowledge and expertise and experience and know-how. They're obviously not working for the business, but they're there in behind the scenes supporting us, and that's just brilliant for us. I think it's a real, I don't want to kind of blow smoke up our backsides, but I think it's a real validation of what we built and what we set out to build, that these 2 guys have recognized that and thought, we'd like to support you on your next stage. So yeah, that's where we are.
That's amazing. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
Is one of the ideas bubbling a policy for terrorism from your kids? Because I'm dealing with that right now, and I could really use something. And not even a no claim. I need the Martin Herzog to come in and maybe, give me some advice on how to deal with these little terrorist assholes.
Yeah, domestic terrorism is often thought of as something else, but actually in this case it's true.
That's interesting.
Yeah, in-house terrorism. Yeah.
Hey, Doug,
Charlie,
Doug,
Peter, you got that coming your way. So I know he's only 6 months old right now. Hey, by the way, Charlie, do you call Peter? You allow people to call you Pete? I'm gonna start calling you Pete.
Oh,
I love that.
Sorry, oops.
No.
My friends can call me Pete, Doug, so you can't.
Yeah, get them out. Back to Peter. PT. I like calling you PT. I'm gonna stick with that.
Oh my God.
No, Charlie, seriously, that's very exciting news.
That's amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah, very cool.
That's so, a lot of our listeners, about 50% of them, so 3 people, they're on the side of they're where you were when you were in your career working for a carrier, and they're interested in creating an MGA. And then, the other good chunk of people have started an MGA at this point, or are with a vendor to try to work with those MGAs and want to know best how to do that. So, how did you know it was time to make that leap? It's a tough decision to make.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I didn't necessarily know it was time to make the leap, but you start to think of the future, and you start to think, what would be the most ideal situation for us as a business now to consolidate what we've built already and to execute on the plans we've got going forwards. And then, discussion with my previous parent company and the plans that they've got, and how they want to invest in their own businesses. It kind of just made sense. So it just felt like a very natural thing. And then obviously, the fact that David and Graham came forward and made the process pretty easy in terms of being able to pull off the transaction. I don't know. I'm not really giving you an answer, but it kind of just sort of evolved quite naturally and happened. And then once you're into the process, you start to think, okay, well, actually, these are the benefits of this potential change, and so let's make this happen. And that's where we ended up. And so we've got a great relationship with our previous parent company. As I said, we remain commercially intertwined on various aspects, but we're just now independent businesses, and we wish each other well.
That's great. Sounds, with that level of haziness on the decision, it sounds a little bit like parenting, right? In those early years of having a child and going, it was all a blur. I don't even remember anymore. It was it's so intense. It's so time consuming. That, or you were at the pub when you made the decision, and that's why it's blurry. So one of the two.
Sometimes you meet parents that have got these incredible, intricate plans for how they're going to bring up their children, and you kind of nod along, yeah. But exactly. And it's the same here. I kind of sit here today, very proud of what the team and I've built and achieved. But I think, how the hell did that happen? I remember we had a kind of vague plan, and then everything just descends into a haze of activity. And suddenly, occasionally, you just pause your breath and go, well, yeah, okay, we got here.
Yeah, since you're working out. Yeah.
And Charlie, I think that one of the things you just said there is really interesting. Having a plan as a parent or as a potential business owner is showing the care and the desire and the thought process behind making that decision. And I think that a lot of times that might be the answer to the question I asked earlier, which is having that level of interest in it, having that, even if the plan goes to hell, fine. You had a plan, you decided, you made these decisions based on your analysis. You care about this thing so much that you took the time to do it. And to me, I think that's half the battle, right? You've put so much interest into this thing, child or business, that's the thing that decides that you can make the leap. So I think you got there, and sure, maybe the plan changed significantly, but it's so important to get to that step and really look at it as this thing. Am I serious about this? I shouldn't do it on a whim. I should put lots of consideration into it. And if I still look at all the negatives and say this is something that I truly want to undertake, that's a really good sign.
Yeah, definitely. It's and I know we've all sat through kind of slightly cheesy marketing sessions in our careers, I'm sure, where people talk about your vision and mission, et cetera. But for me, that has been clear. If you have got a clear vision of what you want to achieve and where you want to go, the plan is the skeleton to it. But you can pull out a bone and replace it. Or I'm stretching this metaphor way too far, I get it. But that is what's been our guiding light. We've always been really clear about what we want to do and what we want to achieve, and the kind of tactics around that we adapt as we go.
Peter, I think that's a perfect segue into your favorite question of the show.
Oh, Christ!
Yeah, this has been great, Charlie. So I guess before we get to that, so people looking to connect with you, I know you and your business partners at quite a few events, and you're quite available. So maybe you could just share where people can connect, and particularly agents, brokers who might be interested in some of these products that you're describing as well.
Yeah, sure. We're at a regular round of conferences on the everything from RIMS at the kind of high end risk managed part of the market through to Target Markets conference out in Phoenix in 10 days time or something, isn't it? I guess you might be there, Peter. And that's reflective of our audience as well. We've got clients who are at the Fortune 500 end of the scale, and we've got clients right at the other end of the spectrum of size. We're based in London. We don't have an international footprint right now. So we are very service orientated, but people can contact us at underwriting@samphirerisk.com. All of our products on our website, but for something that's not there or not clear, contact us on that email address and we'll always come back to you.
Great. And the big finish, I suppose, you've achieved so much, and often we speak to MGA founders who are not as far into the journey as you. So congratulations again from all of us on that. That's amazing. So to finish the show, having achieved this and got to where you are, what would you like your legacy to be in the space?
I've always told my team it's not particularly complicated. I want them to have the best professional fulfillment they can possibly have. I like them to be well paid, happy in their personal life because their professional life supporting it well, and hopefully that we built something of real integrity and real quality. I don't have world domination plans. Really enjoy what we do. I love being a kind of boutique business that's really focused. Love my team, and want them to kind of enjoy the experience as much as I do. Sorry, that's a really feeble answer, but it's the truth.
No, I love that. It's like the focus on the team is really cool. I think a lot of times people forget that that's what's helping you build something, and especially in the insurance space where relationships are everything. And I don't really like the family metaphor. I like how you put it's a team, right? And it's not meant to encompass your entire life. And I also like how you put right to support your personal life. That's it's a really cool way of looking at it.
Cool.
Well, Charlie, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. Really enjoyed
Charlie. Well, I'll be at Target Markets as well. Happy to grab a beer. I don't know if you're going to Peter's event, but
sadly, I'm not going to be there. But
okay. We'll meet the other team. You guys at events do think about giving out flak vests though with your name on it. I would pick that swag up for sure. Just a little thought there. And yeah, hopefully we can make our way down to Venezuela sometime soon.
No, definitely.
At the rum distillery.
Yeah. Great beaches, great rum, got everything. Nice parrots as well for
Laura.
Yeah. Oh, very nice.
Good swag. One of my team won a Loro hoodie, so
nice. Very nice.
That's been a major.
I don't even have a Loro hoodie, and I work with them. How does it work?
I get nothing.
Dylan's rocking the pineapple InsurTech, and that's it.
Yeah.
Plug and play. Anyway. All right. Anyway.
Well, Charlie, great to meet you, buddy. It was really, really cool conversation.
Nice to chat to you.
Thanks, Charlie.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, Charlie.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Peter, very cool guest again. You really class the joint up for us. And on the episode where I wear a silly hat as well, we have.
I wore a T-shirt. So I feel the same way.
I thought, Dylan, I could sense you at that exact moment having the same thought as me. That Doug was about to say his classic "best guest ever." And
best guest ever. Best guest ever. Screw all the other ones. We hate them all. We're just like keep going on top.
That was a great episode. We don't cover such a variety of topics that often, so I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, it was really good. Dylan, do you remember I sent you a text a couple months ago of a video where like a pirate got blown up on a ship, and I said we should get into that line of business. I can't believe you're bringing that up.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe Charlie could hire our firm to get involved.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
You got the guns. I got the. I'll just sit there and manage. But
you just want to drink rum off the coast of Venezuela.
Rum. Yeah, well, we'll ship rum from Venezuela.
To be clear, I do not want to be in a boat off the coast of Venezuela right now. Not something I'm interested in.
I gotta put that business plan together.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. The Russians already have that covered. Just to be clear.
Oh, okay. They need some competition.
That's where that video came from, to be clear. Those are Russian.
Those are Russians.
Video. Yes.
Those are Russians.
Yes.
With their job, blowing things up. Guys, I'm really excited. Next week, we're going to be in person together, hanging out, doing a couple of live recordings with very special guests that will top this guest we just had on today, for sure. As we keep going up higher and higher. I love all of our guests. They're all amazing. The fact that they would give an hour of their day to hang out with us silly guys.
It's just, again, a sign that none of them have watched the show before they came on. So it's really should be insulting to us that they come on. We're just like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why would you dare come on the show, given what you're about to have to say and go through?
They unlink with me on LinkedIn. Is that what's called? Unlink?
Yeah.
Unlink somebody?
D-link?
D-link?
D-link.
We should D-link this show right now because I think we're at the end.
All right, sounds good.
Well, yeah.
Peter, what were you going to say? What's up, man?
No, I just had a guest in mind from Charlie's conversation. I think we should reach out to David Walsh. I think it'd be amazing to hear the CFC story.
Yeah.
So
good idea.
Someone to connect with, maybe.
Right.
David,
make sure.
Yeah.
Make sure he doesn't see the show in advance, so he does say yes. And ask Charlie not to mention this to him as well. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. I'm so excited. Seriously, I can't wait to see you both in person.
See you on Monday.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.